Hello and welcome to episode 40 of Daryl Show Your Work. In this episode, we are going to be searching for instances of persistence. Now, I'm looking at things specifically from an instant responder's point of view. If we've just responded to and triaged an incident, and we've just contained that incident or eradicated or believe we have eradicated that incident, now it's time for us to be able to look for instance of persistence and make sure that whatever malware we may have discovered in the system or whatever intruder we may have found in the system, that they still do not have a foothold in our systems to continue to make lateral movement or continue to maintain a level of access to our systems through any sort of backdoors, anything of that nature. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be digging in to specifically into our system monitoring logs to be able to look for those indicators of persistence. And so when I say persistence, again, I want to be a bit more detailed about what I mean about that. So it's basically a technique where attackers can ensure that malware continues to run on a system, often enabling the deployment of additional malicious stages in their infection chain. All right, so again, looking into those Sysmon logs. What Sysmon is, again, that is short for system monitoring. And these can provide valuable insights into suspicious system activities and can help identify anomalies associated with persistence of mechanisms such as scheduled tasks, DDL injections, or registry modifications. So we're going to be looking for a few of those things as we dig into these logs. So first, we need to be able to access them. And so to begin accessing them, we need to go into our event viewer. So in order to do that, I'm going to go here to the start menu search bar, and I'm going to type in event, and then VWR. All right, and there it is right there. All right, and I'm gonna expand this a bit so we all can see. So let me see, let me move this over just a little bit so we can see. All right. So I'm gonna expand starting here at application and services log. All right. And then I'm going to expand the Microsoft folder here, and then Windows. All right, now I need to scroll down specifically to see my Sysmon logs. So scrolling through these different folders, and let's see, here we are right here. So I'm going to expand that. All right, and this I'm gonna click on the operational file here. All right, so now this is going to give us a long list of different logs and events associated with the system monitoring log here on this page. And this is going to be very difficult to sift through to try to find any type of instance of persistence. So what we could do in order to narrow this down, we could go over here to the actions pane right here, and then I'm going to filter this in order to narrow down these registry events. All right. So I'm going to choose a custom range, and so I'm going to set this to event on for both from and to, and let's say this is, I'm going to go back to February. So the incident happened in February 2025. So let's say it happened on February the 7th, 2025. All right, and I want to search starting at for the last 24 hours of that day. So I'm gonna do 12 from 12 a.m. All right, and then I'm gonna again change this to February 7th. and I want to do it to the very last second of that day. So we're going to say 11:59 and 59 seconds. All right, so it looks like we're good to go as far as narrowing down the date and time that we want to specifically look for. All right, and so basically, after doing some research, we have an idea of an event ID that we want to look into. So I'm going to write in event 13, event ID 13. All right, and I'm going to hit OK, and you're going to see what that filter is going to do for us. All right, so basically what event ID 13 did was basically it narrowed everything down to registry value set. So we want to look to see has there been any sort of modifications to our registry. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I want to take a look at this first log here. All right, so we can see that just looking at this, we can see that it's a scheduled task. And but we wanted the main thing we want to look at and we want to be very cognizant of is this registry value right here. And we want to look very closely at this, at the syntax of it. All right. So we see that it's basically running from again, it's the registry key and it's from Microsoft, Windows NT, current version, scheduled task, and then tree. So meaning it's branching off, and then so it looks like that this is a Windows update scheduled task. And so it's pulling this scheduled task from the Windows folder, the Microsoft folders and Windows update, and then schedule start and then index. And pay attention to this part right here, this Windows update folder. All right, so to kind of save us some time, I'm going to jump right to a specific a Sysmon log entry that I want us to compare that to. So skipping some minutes and perhaps some hours. I'm gonna skip down here to 8 o'clock and 57 seconds. The first entry here of that. So I'm gonna click on that. All right. So scheduled task. All right, so we see that this is perhaps another Windows update task, but there's some things you need to look at. So the first part of this registry path looks just like what we saw, except when you get beyond tree. And now, can you see the difference with the Windows update folder? So before, there's quite a few things going on here. So one, the syntax for Windows Update, the folder, the two words were together, not apart. So clearly this is a different folder, and it's claiming to be the Windows Update um, registry of value or the process, but this is something different than what we saw in the very beginning of us looking at these system monitoring logs. And then another thing to pay attention to, there's actually two missing folders that should have came before the Windows update folder, and which is the Microsoft folder and the Windows folder. So they were supposed to come right after tree. It was Microsoft, and then Windows, and then it was Windows update together. And then before index there was actually a folder called scheduled start. All right, so this tells us that hey, there's something here that's masquerading as the Windows scheduled update task. All right, so and to kind of give a reason for why we're looking specifically at scheduled tasks, because they're common persistence mechanisms attackers use to execute malicious code, maintain access, or escalate privileges. They configure scheduled tasks to run malicious files at regular intervals, ensuring persistence while evading the detection. All right, so that's why we want to specifically look at scheduled tasks, because it's a common mechanism for an attacker to maintain persistence. As we see, it looks like it's one that's being utilized at this moment. So one thing we want to do, since we've identified this scheduled task, now we want to go into the schedule the task scheduler and see if we could dive deeper into this scheduled task and see specifically what's going on there. So I'm going to go into our start menu search bar again, and I'm going to type in task. Oops, SC, and it should bring up our task scheduler. I'm just trying to find D. No, you're not liking that. All right, I'm gonna have to write out the whole thing. MSC. Give me two M's there. There we go. Okay, I had to write the whole thing out. All right. So this is going to take us into our task scheduler utility. I'm gonna expand this for us. All right. So what we want to do is if we look straight at the bottom here, let's see if we can find that Windows Update scheduled task, and we found it right here. All right. And if we take a look, it looks like it actually runs at 12 p.m. every day. We don't need to update our system, our Windows operating system at 12 p.m. Every day. So that in itself is suspicious. All right. So the next thing we do, let's click on this. Let's go inside, and we're going to move over. If you see these tabs here, let's move over to actions. All right. So we can see that it's actually what's going on here is that the Windows Update task is actually triggering a DDL. All right, so we see that run ddl32.exe, and the name of that DDL is rs6.a. And what rs6.a is, it's actually triggering an export function called start a. All right, so again, this is a common mechanism used to maintain persistence. And when I say DDL, what that's short for is dynamic link library. And these are files used by Windows that contain code and data, allowing multiple programs to share the same functionality simultaneously. So attackers place DDL files in locations that are difficult to access or are hidden within system directories to evade detections. These paths are strategically chosen to blend in with legitimate files and exploit areas where monitoring is less likely. So that's why if you look at temp here, that's why you see this in the temp folder, because that's a common area that a DDL file such as this would be executed. So we found some instance of an instance here of persistence. So what do we do now? All right. So some ways that we can mitigate against these type of persistence, or we could kind of harden our attack surface against it, is we can remove this malicious or suspicious scheduled task. All right, so in this instance that we're doing, that would be like the first thing we would do. We would find this, and then we would after documenting everything, we would get rid of this, removing this from our system. All right, then some proactive things we could do, or some things moving forward that we can do, is that we can monitor sensitive directories like the temp and task folders with tools such as Wizard and OSSec. All right, so those are tools that specifically monitor sensitive folders such as temp or a task for changes in them. All right, and also some other things that we could do is we could block malicious domains and IPs. Of course, with our firewalls and IDSs and IPSs. We can also enforce the principle of least privilege. So we can make sure that our user accounts that we have on here don't have or lack the ability themselves to gain more privileges than what they need in order to do their job function. All right, so in case we do have someone to intrude our enterprise, that if they do get a hold of a regular user account, that we would have to set some of those settings like we did in the last lab, where they can't just be able just to escalate their privileges, or they would have to another admin would have to actually be able to escalate privileges, or be able to do certain things for them. So that's kind of some things of how we can implement the principle of least privilege. And then another thing that we could do that would really help in this specific situation is to deploy endpoint detection and response tools, which is often is short is long for EDR. All right, and those could detect and alert on suspicious DDL executions, unexpected file creations, and sensitive directories, and attempts at later movement within our network. So again, in this specific instance, the probably be a great solution, since they look for those specific, suspicious DDL executions and unexpected file creations in sensitive directories such as temp and task, which all have happened in this specific scenario. So that brings us to the end of our video. Just wanted to run through this scenario, show us how we can utilize our system monitoring log to be able to find those indicators of persistence, to ensure that threats that we have found prior are no longer able to attack or have access to our network resources. So please like, subscribe, and share. Most importantly, show your work. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.